Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into something that, well, feels like it should be all about numbers, right? Money.
Right. Spreadsheets and returns?
Exactly. But what we found in this deep dive is it's actually much more about uh, human stuff,
Yeah.
our behaviors, emotions, how we think.
Yeah, absolutely. And for this, we've pulled the key ideas from Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money. It's really quite brilliant.
It is. What I like is how it shifts things. It's not just how to invest. It's more like, how should I think about money?
Precisely.
And that's really our mission here today. We're not going to give you stock tips or, specific strategies.
Nope, no hot tips here.
Right. Instead, we're going to give you a shortcut to understanding the surprising psychology behind why some people do well with money and, honestly, why others struggle. It's about reframing how you see wealth. So, should we dive in?
Let's do it. So one of the first things Housel hits you with, and it's pretty counterintuitive, is that doing well with money, it actually has very little to do with how smart you are, like raw intelligence.
That is fascinating, isn't it? Because you just assume, oh, the finance gurus, the maths whizzes, they've got it made.
Right.
But he says no.
He says it's much less about that. It hinges more on what he calls soft skills, things like discipline, patience, emotional awareness.
Okay.
Think about it. You probably know someone or know of someone who's incredibly intelligent but makes, well, terrible financial decisions.
Uh-huh. Happens all the time.
Right. And it's often not because they don't understand the numbers. It's maybe lack of self-control, or they try to be too clever, outsmart the system, and they end up acting against their own best interests.
It's almost a paradox then. You'd think more smart equals better results, but Housel flips it. He actually says financial success is not a hard science. It's a soft skill where how you behave is more important than what you know.
Exactly.
So I guess the question for you listening is, how does that change your view of what it takes? Does it make it feel more achievable, maybe? Or just different?
It definitely makes you think. And if behavior is key, then you also have to consider the things you can't really control. Which brings us to luck and risk. Housel calls them inseparable.
Yeah, the brothers, right? It's kind of humbling because we all like to think we're the masters of our own financial fate.
We do. But what he means is, look, you could make every single decision perfectly, like by the book, but just sheer bad luck can still sink you. And the opposite is true, too. Some huge successes out there, honestly, maybe just pure chance, not necessarily superior skill or insight.
Okay, so that really changes how you look at things, doesn't it? Like, someone else's big win might have been a lucky break, not a genius strategy you should copy.
Exactly. So the takeaway there is, maybe don't try to precisely replicate someone else's exact moves, because their luck, their risk profile, it's unique to them. It won't be yours.
So focus more on broad principles that work generally rather than super specific tactics. That makes sense. How does knowing about luck and risk change how you see your own journey and maybe how you judge others? It certainly makes you pause before jumping on a bandwagon.
It really does. And, it connects to another big behavioral trap, which Housel calls the danger of never enough.
Yes, the goalposts just keep moving further away.
Constantly, that relentless desire for more, even when you already have plenty, it's insidious.
The book mentions even billionaires falling prey to this, right?
Yeah.
Pushing things too far, taking crazy risks, and then losing what they already had.
Yeah, it happens. It's this deep human thing, maybe. Greed, or just the inability to feel satisfied. So the really critical lesson Housel pushes is identifying your enough point.
Knowing when to stop pushing.
Exactly. Knowing when you have enough to meet your needs, your reasonable desires, and then actively not chasing more if doing so puts what you value, what you already have, at risk.
So it really forces you to ask yourself, what does enough actually mean for me? That's a big question.
It is a very personal one.
And if constantly pushing for more is dangerous, the book really champions something quieter, almost overlooked for building wealth. Compounding. He calls it the eighth wonder.
It's amazing, isn't it, how he frames it? Wealth isn't really built through these huge, flashy wins. It's built by just letting time and consistency do their thing. Like, think about Warren Buffett.
The classic example.
Right. His genius isn't just his skill, though obviously he has that. It's the sheer number of decades he's been consistently doing it. He just kept going.
It's almost boringly simple, in a way. There's that great quote, good investing is not necessarily about making good decisions. It's about consistently not screwing up.
That's the one. Avoid the big mistakes, stay in the game.
So, thinking about that quiet power, How can you, listening right now, how can you harness that consistency in your own financial life? It's not about hitting home runs all the time.
It's about hitting singles consistently for a long, long time. And if consistency is how you build wealth, Housel argues the real point of that wealth isn't just getting rich. It's freedom.
That's such a powerful shift. We often think money equals fancy cars, big houses, luxury.
Yeah, the external stuff.
But Housel says the ultimate goal isn't that. It's freedom. He actually defines true wealth as having control over your time, over your decisions, your life.
It completely reframes what success looks like, doesn't it? It's less about the stuff you own and more about the autonomy you have.
It really does.
Yeah.
And he asks that killer question in the book, something like, what's the point of earning money if you don't own your time?
Oof. Yeah, that one hits home.
It makes you stop and think, okay, what does financial freedom really look like for me? Maybe it's not $1 billion. Maybe it's something else entirely.
Maybe it's just waking up and knowing you decide what your day looks like.
Exactly. And actually tying into that idea of building freedom is another point. The surprising power of just saving money,
Yeah.
even without a specific goal for it.
Yeah, this is interesting too. We're always told save for a house, save for retirement, save for a car.
Right. Always for something specific.
But Housel says just saving, period, even if you don't know what it's for yet, it creates this incredibly valuable thing, a flexibility buffer.
A buffer. I like that. Like financial shock absorbers.
Kinda. It gives you options you wouldn't otherwise have. It gives you power, actually.
No.
And peace of mind when, life inevitably throws curveballs.
It's like building resilience into your finances.
Mhm.
And he has that great line here, too, about wealth is what you don't see.
And it's not the flashy car, which might be leased, or the expensive watch, which might be on credit. Wealth is the money not spent, the money saved.
The money working quietly in the background. So how can you embrace saving, not just for a target, but as an act of building that future flexibility, those future options for yourself, a different way to think about putting money aside?
It really is. And given all these, psychological quirks we have, it makes sense that Housel really emphasizes that we're not calculators. We're human. We're often reasonable, maybe, rather than purely rational with money.
That's a really key distinction, isn't it? Reasonable versus rational.
Yeah.
Because we are emotional creatures. That doesn't just switch off when we look at our bank account.
Not at all.
So a financial plan, he argues, doesn't need to be the absolute, mathematically perfect, optimal plan on paper.
Right.
What it does need to be is something that you can actually stick with consistently through thick and thin, good markets and bad, something that works for you emotionally.
He uses a great example. Paying off your mortgage early. Now, mathematically, maybe you could earn a higher return by investing that extra money instead of paying down low-interest debt. That's the rational view.
Sure. On paper, that makes sense.
But paying off that mortgage gives you profound peace of mind, helps you sleep at night, removes a huge psychological burden, then it's a perfectly reasonable decision, maybe even the better decision for you personally.
Because that peace of mind has real value, even if it's hard to quantify.
Exactly. So it prompts the question, how can you design a financial plan that works with your human emotions, not against them? One you can actually live with long term.
That feels much more achievable.
Yeah.
And it really links back to that idea we touched on. Wealth is what you don't see. It's worth hitting that again.
Yeah, it's a core theme.
Yeah.
Because appearances, especially with money, can be so incredibly misleading. Someone driving a fancy car could be up to their eyeballs in debt.
Living paycheck to paycheck, just with more expensive stuff.
Right. While someone living modestly might actually be truly wealthy, with substantial savings and investments, all invisible to the outside world. True wealth, Housel says, is often silent, private. It's the savings, the smart decisions made quietly.
So the big lesson there for you, the listener, is just be really careful about comparing yourself. Don't judge your financial situation based on what you see others doing or having. That flashy stuff, it might mean nothing or worse than nothing.
Focus on your own situation.
Yeah. What does genuinely secure financial status mean for you? Forget the external validation. What feels secure internally?
And because everyone's definition of that and their emotions and their circumstances are different, it leads perfectly into the next point.
Yeah.
You absolutely have to play your own game.
Oh, this is so crucial today, isn't it? With social media, the 24/7 news cycle. Everyone's shouting about the next big thing or showing off their wins.
It's constant noise. Housel just reminds us, look, Everyone has unique goals, unique timelines, unique tolerances for risk. What someone else is doing or what the market did today shouldn't necessarily make you feel insecure or like you need to change your long-term plan on a whim.
Don't get caught up in their game.
Exactly. Focus on playing your game, the one that's tailored to your life, your goals, your temperament. So maybe take a second to think, what actually defines your game? What are the unique rules for your financial journey?
That's powerful. And I think that leads us to the final key lesson, maybe the one that underpins everything for long-term success. It's simply about staying in the game.
Survival. It sounds almost too basic, but it's paramount. The goal isn't necessarily the highest possible return in any given year, especially if chasing that involves risks that could wipe you out.
Right. You can't win if you're not playing.
Exactly. It's about building resilience, having enough buffer, managing risks so that you can withstand the inevitable downturns, the unexpected shocks, and just keep going, stay invested, stay on track.
It's about endurance, really. He has that fantastic final thought. Endurance beats brilliance over the long haul.
Such a great line.
It really is. So the final question for you perhaps is, what consistent, sustainable actions can you take? Not dramatic ones maybe, but sustainable ones. Actions that ensure you stay resilient, that you stay in the game financially for the long run.
Yeah, because that's how compounding works. It's magic. That's how you ultimately build that freedom. So when you boil it all down, Morgan Housel's message in The Psychology of Money is pretty clear, isn't it? Money isn't just math, it's behavior.
It really is. It's a complete shift. Wealth, he argues, is built much more through things like patience, humility, managing your emotions, than it is through, complex strategies or trying to be the smartest person in the room.
So maybe the most important question isn't how should I invest my money, but rather how do I need to think about money? How do I manage myself?
Exactly. So maybe something to leave you with as you go about your week. How might shifting your focus, shifting it from just accumulating more money to actively cultivating a healthier money mindset, how might that fundamentally change your financial future?